Thanks again for rejoining us on the show. Nigerian Decides on independent television as we get our conversation on the show on course this beautiful Tuesday morning. The governorship and State House of Assembly election is scheduled for this Saturday, March 11, 2023, across the country. On record, about 28 states will be featuring in that election. And the reason being that we have off-cycle election. That's a fallout of tribunal judgment and all of that. But that's a matter for another day. The outcome of the last presidential and National Assembly election is expected to be a big influence in what is coming forth, either on the positive or on the negative. On the positive, in the sense that the state governors and State House of Assembly election will perhaps benefit from that. On the negative, there just could be a turning point for such state governors and House of Assembly. In today's program, we'll cascade into Edo State, talking about achieving a violence-free Edo State House of Assembly post. And that's because in Edo State, there is no governorship election. Our focus, all we're going to be dedicating all our energies to, is for the conduct of a violence-free Edo State House of Assembly election. The reason being that Labour Party prevailed in the the presidential election. And there are insinuations that Labour Party has become the new bride of Edo politics. But we have the old guns still there, talking about the PDP, the ruling party in the state, as well as the APC, the major opposition political party. How all of this will pan out is just a matter of days and time. I'd like to welcome our panelists to this discussion. Frank Ahiosun is a public affairs commentator, a political analyst. He is also an author. Frank, thank you for joining us on the program.
Very pleasure.
We also have with us here in the studio a former senior special assistant to the state governor on community mobilization, public affairs analyst, a political analyst, and a politician as well, Comrade Collins Amadi Osara. Collins, thank you for joining me.
Good morning. Good morning, viewers.
Okay, let's get started. The presidential and National Assembly election threw up a lot of upsets. Interestingly, there are feelings that all of that we saw in the presidential and National Assembly election will play a major influence in the governorship election and State House of Assembly election. That's talking generally. Let me get your perception and perspectives on this, Frank.
I think it's the expected, in the sense that if something had happened in the recent past, you'd expect that it will impact people's judgment as it pertains to a similar activity subsequently, which are within the same period. So from what happened last week, of course it will have some impact. The dynamics of the impact, however, may vary depending on the political divide or the proclivity of the voter as he is so inclined to go cast his vote. I think that it is primarily unfortunate that the story is not rosy. I'm not inspired by the February 25th narrative. Looking at the fact that Nigeria is almost 63 years old as an independent nation, if after over 62 years of existence as a nation, we are still grappling with mere conduct of election, a basic activity that is routine, it is known to occur at specific times, yet on and on and on, it seemed like a case of taking one step forward and 2 or 3 steps backwards. That's why I said it's somewhat unfortunate, because it's not ecclesiastical science or some peculiar technology that is in question. It's just a matter of providing a template for people to exercise their suffrage, to make their choice. And it's quite painful that having made some progress from the Morisiwu days, where we thought that we had left the Valley of Golgotha. And Jega brought in some level of improvement and went further in 2015 to cap it up with the introduction of the card reader. However, the limitations it had as at that time, of course, based on legal frameworks and all whatnot. Yet, there was quite some impact. We went forward quite far from where we used to be. And by 2019, we thought that there was some level of improvement too. Even though, unfortunately, the 2019 election wasn't so rosy, because at that time, there was opportunity for the introduction of a technology like we have in this 2023, or that came forth before the 2023 election. But the powers that be at the center thought that it wasn't too reasonable to approve of such electoral act since the election was so close. Of course, everybody knows to a large extent the reason for that viewpoint. So, but what happened in from February 25th is a sad story. Looking at the fact that INEC has increased its limit of expenditure. The 2019 election, their budget was about 189 billion. By 2023, it has gone up to about 350 billion. Is there value for money spent in this exercise? But, you know, when you look at the general Nigerian picture, where the culture of impunity takes preeminence over the supremacy of the law, you find it difficult to hold any branch of the tree, because it seems like that seems to be the norm. So what do we do?
So we just accept it.
You know, they say in the land of the blind, the wired man, however defective, you have to celebrate him as a king. That's why I said, yes, there may be some impact.
Yes.
Or there ordinarily is expected to be some level of impact. But what would the impact be? If I were to vote, I would look at it as a motivation that my suffrage must be exercised.
Okay, let me push you there, Frank. Collins, let's get your take on this, on the outcome of the Presidential National Assembly election.
Thank you very much. For me, even few weeks before the general election, I was here, and I had other debaters with me, and I said I was not 100% convinced of INEC. And they said yes, because I saw the indices that probably my party will lose, and that they have all the confidence in this world on INEC, and that I will be shocked that with all that they have seen so far, that they were very convinced. But it's also quite now unfortunate that our people are easily reverse their gear, even without understanding the meaning of the word consistency. Now, we saw all the processes before the election, and all of us, indeed, majority of them, agreed that the processes, to a large extent, 3 days before the election, I was on studio, that it was fair to them. So how can just a day malign all those gains you have prophesied? You can see us. Now, I have not said INEC had done 100% well, but you can give it to them that they have improved from 2019 to 2003. Why did I say so? You will bet me, or you will agree with me, that we have not seen where state governors loses their Senate bid. I mean, constituency, which over the time, you will agree with me, they have done some infrastructure, because that is their immediate constituencies. And that means this election grew beyond even some projects. Either maybe your way of manner, the way you talk to people, the way you see politics. People resolved either to vote people in or vote people out on peculiar reasons. And some of these reasons may be very funny. Maybe like Ben Ayade, for example, of Cross River, which you'll agree with me, have done very well. A young man and very handsome. And if they will tell you that a Cross River state governor as such, who have built different companies, manufacturing up to airlines, just name them, will lose a Senate, the Senate seats. That means maybe those who are the real grassrooters, who helped him over the time to mobilize, were angry that he left their party and got married to a new bride. Just that simple fact, not because you have not worked. You used us and you walked away without concrete consultation. That may have led to what he lost. Okay. So the same thing went across in the country. where we saw governors losing polling units, governors losing local governments. It's not my politics. That is why I've said it was a real gem. So you give it to INEC at this level. If you do not win today, you certainly will win tomorrow. All we pray for is an improvement. That was why we have told people to try and build institutions, not movements. When you build institutions, it can be sustained by way of commitment. But when you build movements, it's temporary. It dissolves within a jiff. You can't hold it because it was named so. So what I'm trying to say in Oshe, INEC, I gave you 75%, if not 100%. And I believe that consequently, they will improve.
Okay.
If the lords that bees, for example, could lose their states, come on, do you have to win all? If people, for example, we said didn't have a structure, could garner 6 million votes, whether in some region we knew people were helping people to compete or not, but however, this was what INEC gave to us to an extent. You will agree with me. You can't just be a master in just a day.
Okay, let me quickly come in here. Let me quickly come in here.
Yeah.
We are beginning to see developments in the political space, and we look at critically the brass tacks concerning the constitution of the Edo State House of Assembly, and there seem to be some drive. You know, some have perceived, which actually it's really, you know, shown that it was not having adequate representation. And some are coming in to make a different narrative, having more of these representatives, you know, fed into the House of Assembly. Do you see this move in the state as what could impact or induce violence or make politics seen as do or die as we gradually get close to the elections for the Edo State House of Assembly? Frank?
Yeah, in responding to your question, my co-discussant said some wonderful things concerning the governor of Cross River State, but I beg to differ. The guy may have performed, no doubt, but we can go online and take as a verifiable viewpoints on the status of some of the investment and all whatnot that he did. And the airline stuff we talked about, I'm aware of any airline from Calabar. The only one we know about from that region is the Ibom airline that is functional. And most of the, not to digress too much, but most of the things that are claimed, in quotes, to his benefit or credit, either comatose or stillborn. But that's the horse of different color.
But the bottom line is that he is the governor of the state chief executive.
Sure he is.
He lost a senatorial seat.
Yeah,
he lost, and he lost woefully.
Of course he did. He's not the only person that lost. The governor of Enugu State lost to Labour.
Several of them.
Yeah, you know, sorry, it's still easy to digress if I come to a point. I'll come to it quite, because it's very important. The elections, even if I didn't hit the nail on the head quite on some specifics, in order not to take too much time before, it wasn't much about the smaller trees. I think the deceit was anchored on the big tree, as it were. So, you know, when you listen to some people talk on air, you get so amazed. It will seem like fools have been turned into philosophers by peculiar viewpoints. Because when you hear explanations about somebody has a beaver, the server that pertains to House of Rep and Senate, they can access it, they can't access the presidency. They couldn't access it because the owner of the system locked it, so they couldn't access it, or did not give them the code. Till tomorrow, INEC is short of words to explain because there is actually no reliable explanation within the purview of relevant science as we have it today. But for something sinister. They've told us. But for something sinister. No, see, they've told us.
Yes.
I'm not aware. You may be detailed because
some element wanted to hack the system and they were invading so hard.
Okay. Let's take it one at a time. Yes, so you go straight to the point that, yes.
Well, this stuff is just raised. Do you know that this response he put forth is a pattern from the APC that has been quite unfortunate? It was, I can't remember his name now, Eden Fence something, one career from the West, a few days ago, who spoke on behalf of INEC that there was an attempt to hack the INEC servers. Now, INEC decision has come out to deny it. It was even affirmed that it was a pseudo site that went with the name INEC that published the information that INEC server was being attempted. I mean, people attempted to hack the server so many times. It was a fake INEC site. And that is a fake INEC site that APC people are using to now inform us. INEC will not tell Nigerians that. That makes it more suspect.
So we're still waiting for INEC's response. That's the point you're making.
There's no.
Okay, but let's stay
now, coming back to the
yes.
edition. Of course, it will have impact. In 2019, we are not strangers to what happened in the state. Viewing it from the standpoint of a liberal Democrat, I count it quite unfortunate. First of all is that the legislature is the primary symbol of democracy, because that is the most peopled arm of government reflective of the spread of the masses, their diversity and yearnings. So in any democracy, that arm of government is very critical. That is why they have three main functions: lawmaking, representation, and oversight. But these three stand on the basic foundation of representation, because representation precedes lawmaking and oversight. You must come representing your people. Now, in 2019, unfortunately, elections took place, and in politics there is room for maneuver. No contesting that. But maneuvering within the ambits of the law, and of course, reasonability as far as politics is concerned. By some dint of happenstance, people who were elected to represent the people had not been sworn in, were broadcasting viewpoints about a primary purpose or mission of coming to impeach a sitting governor. And not forgetting, I say this without any, it's my personal opinion, that Nigeria as it is, unfortunately, yes, we're a democracy, but if I say we are maybe within the purview of a banana republic or a little above that, I'm not trying to cast aspersion on the system because I have facts to buttress my point. So in that purview, where the practice of democracy is still not too much above the layer of banana republics, there are certain intrigues that are inherent, unfortunately. So for people who have been elected, they were elected by people to serve their interests, for representation, for lawmaking, and oversight. They've not been sworn in. They were going around singing songs of their primary purpose coming to impeach the person who is sitting. And the man who is at the center sitting thinks of survival. He equally knows that the system is not guarded by relevant laws and structures, because it's seemingly a banana republic. So there has to be some attempt at survival. Of course, he looked for his own way of survival. Of course, that is, fortunately, the law, by some dint of happenstance, tended to us in.
Yes.
Now, I make bold to say that if I were, so many of them are my friends, I know them personally. If I were in their shoes, if they had placed as prime the component of representation as their core function, what happened may not have happened. In fact, I could say would not have happened. Because a people elected in a local government, and I have not been sworn in due to my joining some people to make a proclamation that is not relevant to my primary trust or function. And rather than come back to my people and tell them, I'm not able to represent you, where vitality will not come from the people saying that, no, we are a people here in this LGA, we are by 100,000 or 200,000, we must be represented. That was not prioritized. Rather, it was a case of media, and depending on political personage in Abuja and different places.
So exactly the point. Exactly the point is that the people were the one who didn't make themselves available to represent the people, the elected people.
That is.
All right. Let's get your response to this.
I think that wasn't his point. But let me just make a very brief reference. Now, in ITV board, you have a board that even when you want to recruit, assumingly you come together as a board and you resolve, we will take this, we'll take this. And if I have in my instinct that when I come, I'm going to do better than Sonny do and become the general manager and overthrow, and you hear it, does that stop the fact that when I put my application before the board, because of your own personal interest, then I, Comrade Collins Osaga, will not be denied the privilege of working at ITV as a company or a conglomerate? No. Then you will work harder to make sure, now that Collins is coming in, if we take him or he wins and gets the appointment, I will do more research, work harder, so that he will not overrun me. Isn't that democracy? Working on yourself. Now, with what my brother Frank had said, that simply means an interest of one person override or overruled the entire system, the constitution, the legal rights that they have had, first from their constituents, two, from the constitution that empowers us to have such people in power in order to easily get close to their people. That means we were creating more of bananizing in republic. Because you cannot, he that must come to equity must come with clean hands. That, as it may, is a sad event. And I'm sure history will never forget it. That it won't happen. Edo was not the only place. For example, it also happened in Bauchi. They worked among themselves and understood themselves. And you know the irony in all of this, that at the time that intrigues took place, they were still in the same party. It was APC family, 24/24, as at that time. And you needed to swallow them in within a period of time. And they refused just because you heard somebody that in a beer parlor or in a palm wine joint saying, I will impeach. Are you not telling me that 14 of them or 16 of them were gathering and they made that resolution? And even they do. Why don't you let them come and give them a better blueprint of what you have to offer? They can't come into that start pitching you tomorrow. That is what politics is all about. It's about lobbying. Even if they had that interest, that when I come, I'm going to demystify the governor. I'm going to take him away. Why don't they come? Then you put your paper in the card and let them read. Oh, this is what is going to be inclusive. Your oversight function will be stopped. Your allowances and what accrue you won't be stopped. And when you don't offend me, I don't offend you. It will be hard for another person to conscientize me to work against you, because we all have sense and we reason. And now that on one side. Coming the next House of Assembly election, ordinarily, a state governor is not supposed to even worry on things like this if we didn't have issues like this before. That was why you see in my first analysis, I used a performing governor, one of the performing governors that I know very well, who I believe by every standard he would have won, but lost. I said based on basic reasons. Do you know sometimes, even in politics, your attitude, the attitude of a leader sometimes rob others who are innocent. And that was what almost happened to our party, the APC, in this election that is still ongoing or that just ended, possibly the presidency. Not because the candidate themselves had what they have done to the people, but most of the people felt the policies of that government, not the party, of that government, the Buhari-led administration wasn't favorable, wasn't pleasing to many of them. And for basic reasons, some because they find it difficult to even access 20,000 when their children are sick or when they want to get something. That alone made some anger and said, because he was here, I won't be there. Not because they hated those of these persons, but I am also happy the way God played it out. And at the end of the day, they cannot then assess the persons as they were. I will continue to overemphasize that. Whether now or later, you don't elect political party in Nigeria. You elect people, and they groom their team.
Okay, coming from this background, let's, Frank, this development, as to having it now from the background, do you see an act of desperation on the part of politicians at the state level, that could impact negatively or induce violence in the election?
I don't think it's whether I see desperation. Desperation is in the cloud across the country. Our political system has made it a norm, unfortunately. Because when there isn't due deterrence, there isn't accountability, where people are elected, like I normally say, what we have in Nigeria, we elect governors, we elect presidents as the later states. But in reality, we elect kings because we are run like a kingdom. So desperation is normal in such sphere because power seems so absolute, where there's nothing people that don't have it can do about it. Why those who have it can make the most of it to the detriment of possibly all and sundry. So, of course, desperation is in the air. But that's why I started my narrative earlier by saying that it is shameful, it is pitiable, it is a sorry tale. And I almost wanted to say, who caused us, who beguiled us? But nobody did. We brought it upon ourselves. It is what we have tolerated, what we have accepted as a norm.
Okay.
It is an accepted fact
that
the trajectory of every nation is the reflection of the cumulative purport of the people's proclivity at every point in time.
Frank, would you subscribe to the insinuations that performance in Edo State will be a major determinant in this election? Would you subscribe to that?
Yes, I would subscribe.
To what extent would that impact the...
To a large extent, Gio, I canvassed for him quite in 2020. I'm sure I was on this channel more than 30 times before the elections, and maybe a little after too, I'm talking about his candidacy. As an individual, it may not be too, it doesn't have too much of human relations. Not everybody has that. Some people, you can't blame them for it. So that's his shortcoming. But in terms of performance, I think the guy has some things to show. He has quite some things to show. And it doesn't, unfortunately, it doesn't, I don't want to say it doesn't know how to show it, but maybe he looks at things from the standpoint of responsibility, where it's your work to do it. It's your responsibility to do it, so you don't have to come and be advertising it.
Let me pause you there.
Yes.
Yes, Collins, how do you think this issue of performance resonates with the people in terms of whether it will or will not influence the outcome of the State House of Assembly election?
Yes, that's the worry apparently I think the government of Edo State presently have.
Why do you say that?
Because they have underperformed in very many areas. Now, when you want to talk about human relations, thank God he has agreed with me. Democracy is nothing but human relations. You must get to the grassroots. The people must be able to assess you. And if they cannot assess you, they must be far away. They will run. They need somebody they can assess. And I am coming, sir. And now, if you are bringing forth a squad and they can't assess you, that means when the squad comes, they as well cannot assess them. And the unfortunate thing is that some of the members, the present member of the House of Assembly, who quote and unquote, we were all friends, even those that were not allowed to enter the house, they were all friends at the same time. But they decide to say, let me eat alone, by not even encouraging or advising the Mr. Governor to say, please, let's put our house together. No matter what it is, we will resolve among ourselves. Let us see a way to bring ourselves together. But they felt, let us be 9 and let the others go away so that they can make more money. But unfortunately, they forgot that even if they had a complete house.
They didn't tell you that they did that because they want to make more money. So let's
okay.
Yes. Please.
Now, if they had a complete house, it would have been robust. Even if you are a speaker, even if you are a minority leader, you look like a speaker. Like today, the speaker we have, we assume is a minority leader. Why did I say so? Because he's administering over a minute set of people. They imagine the kind of big, 24 people you are leading over. It's an honor. And then you now do your oversight. During your oversight functions, then you have opportunity of doing projects in your constituencies. Now, how many constituencies, for example, I'm from Oredo West and Oredo East, for example, we do not have a representative. That is where the governor comes from. We are from the same local government. And you know how sad it can be. We do not have one primary school that was renovated or attracted by our constituents through our representative. Is an irony. Very sad. Now, how are you going to tell me that one is not there? The families, those who would have fed from these people's salary, their PA, their drivers, everybody have been unemployed for these years, almost 4 years. And you think they are happy. And let me tell you, the driver has somebody also influenced. And it is a conglomerate of coming together this time by these people to say this man who took away the little opportunity not to steal by way of rights, even took it from us. No, we must come together and say no. Now, let me also tell you, the issue of infrastructure. Edo State, ordinarily, internally generated revenue have gone so high and so beautiful. So beautiful. And I'm so happy even when the state government feels so proud to say how much they have been able to raise.
And so you must give them credit for that.
Wonderful. It's good to collect from people, but it's better to also give back to them. When you take from them, you give back to them. Because when we say internally generated revenue, I mean you are invading my shop, you are invading my school, you are asking me to pay money. In return, you must give me the requisite thing that will make me pay more some other time. All these things have not been there.
Okay, let me take you, Frank, on what you said about human relations. I think if we're to look at that critically, don't you think that could be a setback to any key player in terms of in the political space, looking at the administration of the governor in Edo State?
Unfortunately, twisted and amplified.
No, but that's what I mean. It was what you said. Yes, it was what you said. Yeah,
twisted and amplified it. And I said that to say this.
Yeah.
When I said it within a context. In a normal system of government, the extremity of your PR as an individual is not as fundamental as complying with relevant laws and deliverables as it pertains to performance in office. My point is that I may not be an extrovert. Maybe that's how to put it. I may be an introvert. An introvert doesn't fancy so much relating with people. That does not mean that he's poor in terms of human relation. Just that he's not too inclined to talking too much with people. But an extrovert will always want to reach out and know whatnot. Does that make an extrovert a better leader? No. But the point is this, like I said, that in performance, he has so much to show. I now say that he may not be even displaying it so much, and I said it in context, that he's possibly looking at things like it is done in more civilized climes, where you are elected and it's your responsibility to work. So you don't need to come and be advertising, I did that, because you're supposed to do it. You just show it basically as a norm, because it's what you're expected to do. Not the usual way we come around in this country and we praise people that he built road, he did that, and I said, did he use his money to do it? Was he not supposed to even do more than that? What you're supposed to be doing in this country is to be probing projects that are executed. Even if they say they tarred 1 million road, they did 5,000 bridges, the question should be at what cost? What was the process in terms of the job being given out? But of course, it's unfortunate, like I said before, in the land of the blind, the wire means the king. So we are where we are as a country.
So if that is, just a moment, if that's what it is, I'm just taking you on the point now. If that it is that we shouldn't be praise singing those who have given opportunity to lead, where they do roads, they do water, what we should be doing is to probe them. Is it that why we should have a very independent House of Assembly? I mean, talking about what's coming up on Saturday.
Of course, ordinarily we should have a very independent House of Assembly. But please, we must be informed about what we are discussing today. Barely the assembly before this last one, states were meant to vote for autonomy of House of Assemblies. Some of the guys who are complaining today, they are part of people who voted to say no to autonomy for House of Assembly. Other 24 states voted in the country. I don't see one of the states that voted, they said no. It's like a man, it's been complained for so long a time that the House of Assembly in quotes is like an apron string tied to the executive. Now the National Assembly initiated a policy. It's okay, no, let there be autonomy. Finances should be separate so that they can be independent and they can have their viewpoints put forth appropriately. But these people that we are clamoring for said no to it. So that's why I said just now that if it were about the people, which is supposed to be the primary thrust of the legislature, it would have been a natural uprising. When fuel price was almost was increased recently, nobody told people to come out. You saw civil society groups because they knew it pertained to them.
Okay.
If the people, I'm telling you free of charge, that's why I said that earlier, that if the people felt that the people they elected to represent them are not representing them, and it concerns them, the people on the hand would have come out against the system. But because there's that disconnect. Okay. Because ab initio, the legislature has been a made rubber stamp.
All right, we're just on the verge of concluding this conversation, but let me get Collins.
My very good brother Frank, he tried to emphasize more on infrastructure. I was born here, I grew here, and I'm still here. Since the governor took over, I have been here. I try to imagine what kind of infrastructure he's talking about.
So you're not seeing the street lights, you're not seeing the farmhouse secretariat building.
If you talk about street lights, before he came, we had a modern city already, built by Adam's government, where our children can go to a resort center around the King Square. In short, people come from Europe and America just to come and see the modern Edo that was coming. With expected consolidation, the area like Ramat Park and other major points across the city, not even saying the state yet, would be consolidated upon. But instead, the place was completely grounded, that the government does not have money to be fueling and buying diesel because people want to come and sit down. Now today, that place, I'm sure donkeys and scooters are all there. That was built with people's money. If environment cannot be fine. And during that Adams government, we had planting of flowers and what have you across the state. All the street lights, there is no area that there were no street light working that this government have touched. Instead, after some time, it started vandalizing them. I am coming. The government vandalized them and said they were redoing them. Now, for example, when you talk
I'd like you to withdraw that word vandalize because that's a bit offensive.
No, we saw some people, now
they removed them.
We saw some people who said they were contractors. they said they were removing them to bring a more modern ones. And it took almost 4 years to bring the new ones. And the new one, the brother, I can bet you now, if you go through Supply Road, from King Square, beginning of King Square, even immediately you pass Mega Filling Station, about 15 of them will go off. You will move again, you will see 3 with a very blanking and damning lights. Then before Limit Junction to the end of Supply Road, goodbye. That they've since stopped and they have not been working, they have removed their keke napep they were using to fix it from the road. Now, which other major areas are you going to talk about?
Can I quickly come in here?
I'm coming, sir. Before you continue, when you talk about street light, when you go to Sakpomba Road, for example, Adams lightened up Sakpomba Road before he left. And sure, that was his first project. Even on underneath, you were having a reflective light. Even when this one goes off and you are driving at night, the reflective light from the quarter tells you at the point in which you are in. That is where modernization can come. And you saw walkway and what have you in all the roads that were being built.
Collins
now
Osara.
I'm coming, sir. You're almost getting me. Now I'm coming, sir.
So quickly anchor the point.
No,
you
will soon catch me up.
Yes.
Now, what I'm saying is there new roads that have been created by this government? Let's say unexisting road. Like, for example, when he was campaigning for second term, Mr. SLSA, he told us that there was going to be modern secondary school across the 18 local government, each by local government. And he emphatically told us that Gele was 95% finished in the MOU, and that by way of physical seeing, that in less than 2 years, the seaports, in short, they will create a dry port.
Okay, Collins Osara.
Today,
if you continue, I think it will lead to an endless argument. Now, let's look at a point where what you just said now, it seems you came to the studio with a mindset of the fact that the House of Assembly should be reconstituted to antagonize the governor. Is that the essence of the House of Assembly, or to bring about a robust administration that will aid the administration of the governor in bringing about better things?
I am a progressive. I cannot even wish to have an anarchy system where the governor will have an excuse not to be checked. He should complete his 4 years, God willing. God giving him good health. Our own is, let the people, okay, now for example, the fear is, I denied these other people before, during an administration of President Muhammadu Buhari, where he could not forth speak as a leader, which he ought to be, by really speaking out to the issues the way they are. Instead, our people even went to court, thinking that court will survive them. But thank God for the kind of banana institution my brother said we have been operating. The court, knowing fully well that issue was an issue of expediency, decided to keep it on one place and refused today to look into it. It has gone through 9 judges. Quite unfortunate. Now, what would they do? They cannot go to the street and be protesting like some other people are doing and saying they will not go home. They decide to go civil. And the only way to go civil is by going to the court. And the court themselves has said they are on holiday. And the holiday has spent almost 4 years on an issue that is as expedient as that. Now, what would they do? Is to wait for another time to come. Some of them recontested. God having it, some of them are candidates of different political parties. And the fear is already, this man that I hunted for almost 4 years without salary, without allowance, without opportunity, will this one not come to venge? But I can assure the governor that some of us, though I'm not old, I'm not a leader of the party, but I'm one of those voices that my party listen to. We can assure him and guarantee him. Even if the whole 24 members are APC, they will not come, they are not interested in that. What they are interested in, how can we make Edo better? That is going to be their program. And the party have told them over the time. I have been privileged to be in the meeting where the party told them that concentrate and allow the electorate to send you there. You are not going there to go and fight anybody, and you will not go there to fight anybody. Okay. Because we want a peaceful government, not the one that will create issue for the incoming president to start resolving. We don't want the way some governors created problem for Mr. President to be resolving, and he was unable to resolve them. Okay. We do not want issue to come from any state that the president will not be resolving, and that will not be a distraction.
So you expect a violence-free
fair election, okay, and also incoming assemblies.
Okay, Frank, quickly before we call it to
my co-discussant has spewed so many viewpoints without relevant data to back it up.
Oh my God.
So many. Unfortunately, there may not be enough time for me to even respond appropriately.
So just go straight to the point, because we just have about 2 minutes here.
On the issue of impeachment, the world over, whether presidential or other forms of democracies, impeachment is always Herculean task. Even in Nigeria, as much as some people brand it as an option, the reason why the Constitution made it a last resort, should the executive have shortfalls in terms of infraction as pertains to the law, options are available before it, that's why it's a last resort. But it's not a child's play. There are people who have been impeached in this country, not one, not two, not three, that less than 2 or 3 court sittings, they were brought back because it's not just because you don't like the person, you impeach the person. So I can tell those who are clamoring for that free of charge as if it's a given that they should go and check the records. Impeachment is not child's play. The fact that you don't like him does not mean you can impeach him, because they are still lost in the land. That's normal democratic practice. Okay. Now, secondly, the governor is not a member of the House of Assembly. The guys he said went to court. I made bold to say here, going to court for them was like last resort. Their first resort was Abuja Connect. The other resort was media frenzy. And that's why I said they didn't consider even the factor of representation, the people that they fought battle. So within the period that these guys were there, is there any evidence to show that these guys went to say, okay, I'm a member of the House, let me be sworn in, and they were not, the speaker declined they have been sworn in. The governor is not the one that swears in members of the House. Okay. It's not his money to so do.
Who is the speaker?
It is the House that has its rules. And the speaker, they have, I'm not a member of the House, they have their rules set out on how people are brought in. So all this,
who is the speaker?
All this cry, let me tell you, it's because the Abuja Connect failed. That is why this went this way. Because the government they complained about, unfortunately, was not that went to court.
You don't swear people midnight. How can people be sleeping you as swearing people midnight?
Now,
with laughter, with
time is up, Frank.
Even Nepal took like they were using phone touch.
Collins, thank you very much.
Are we in a banana republic?
Our time is up.
Want that.
Saturday is the D-Day. The governorship and state House of Assembly election, like we said at the beginning, Edo State will not be participating in the governorship election, but that will be in 2024. But certainly, the State House of Assembly is the battleground, in a sense, for the major political parties, or the political parties that have candidates, and the reasons are not far-fetched. In a sense, it's also a validation test for the state chief executive in terms of his policies, in terms of his programs. How receptive are they to the people of Edo State? That decision will come forth on the 11th of March, this Saturday. We'll be here as usual to give you all the analysis, all the happenings as it relates to the election. I want to say big thanks to our panelists for today, Comrade Collins Amadi Osara.
Thank you for having me.
Frank Ahiusu, thank you for coming. Yeah, we'll take a break. We'll be back with you in a moment.
Thank you for having me.
As we talk more on the outcome of the presidential election. Don't go away.